Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire. It's written and directed by Zack Snyder. This is currently available on Netflix with audio description. And since it's Part 1, obviously there's a Part 2 that's coming at some point. I don't know how many parts this is going to be. I don't know if this is going to be like an Avatar thing where Zack just keeps making Rebel Moon films. Um, but this one stars Sophia Boutella among many other people, but it actually stars Sophia Boutella, and then it just has a massive cast. Beneath Sophia Boutella, it has Ed Skrein is worth mentioning. I would say Charlie Hunnam, Djimon Hounsou, uh, uh, I don't know, Jenna Malone, Carrie Elways was in this, Ray Fisher, uh, it's Anthony Hopkins. um, it's just there's Corey Stahl. I don't know. There's a lot of people in this. Just IMDb it and then just go down the list. I don't want to disrespect him because he went deep. Clearly, a lot of people wanted to work with Zack Snyder. Netflix gave him the budget to hire a bunch of people, and he brought them all in. I even noticed. There was one that was really interesting too because he all I knew him from was playing like Michael Myers or Jason or something like that. Like he's one of those people that played uh, a killer in one of those films, and that's all I know him for. Um, and yeah, so it's got a deep cast, and the story behind this film is that this was Zack Snyder wanted to direct a Star Wars film, and they said no. so So he rewrote his Star Wars film, and Netflix said yes. But he wanted to do sort of like a hardcore Star Wars film. And Netflix met him in the middle, and they said, "If we'll let you make your film, if you can make it PG-13." So he still didn't get to make his hardcore R-rated epic like he really wanted to. I don't know that that's a bad thing. Um, Zack Snyder is somebody who you say his name and immediately people get defensive. There are immediately people watching this video right now who are waiting for me to say something negative about Zack Snyder who are like, if he says one thing, I swear to God, I am going to, I'm gonna doss him. I'm gonna do it. Like I, um, relax. I didn't hate the film. Um, and the thing about Zack Snyder is, I don't know that I really hate any of his films. I just all think they can be better. I originally fell in love with Zack Snyder with Dawn of the Dead. And for me, I don't think he's ever lived up to the potential. I think with 300, he came in and he did what I would call probably maybe 300 is his best work, but it was so stylized. And everybody loved 300 so much that he kept the same stylized everything, like, and kept trying to bring that into every single film after that and make like that his calling card. So, but Dawn of the Dead was really good, and it doesn't play out, it doesn't look like, it's not shot like 300. And he hasn't ever gone back to his roots and said, this was also a really well received film that people really liked. I could do this again. Um, Instead, all the films of his I was able to see up until becoming a blind film critic all kind of look the same. He really likes that kind of like bluish grayish color grading. He loves to color grade his films. He loves to use slow motion. There's a way that he shoots his films, and I here I don't have the luxury of that. I don't have the luxury of sitting there and looking at the aesthetic of Zack Snyder, so I'm trapped in his script, which he thought was cool enough that he wanted to write and direct it. So, what's it about? I honestly really don't even I'm not even really sure. To be totally honest, I watched this film and I feel like if I tried to give you like an in-depth description, it would be it's very piecemeal because I didn't quite understand all of it myself. He's world building, which is really hard to do. Um, it's really complicated, and he's world building, and I have to give him props because he world built without a data dump at the beginning. Even Star Wars has a scroll. Do you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people are like, Star Wars is the best thing that's ever happened. Star Wars opened with a scroll, guys. Star Wars Episode 4 opens with a scroll that gives you at least some sort of context. Rebel Moon just kind of drops you in, and you're on a planet um, with what I would call appropriated indigenous people. I mean, they're not really indigenous because like one of them is Corey Stahl, and I'm fairly certain Corey Stahl is not indigenous, but they're like a farming community that's feels very anyway. Um, like they're native. And the equivalent of the Empire comes in and they're like, we need your harvest. And there's a squabble, and eventually, obviously, the Empire wins. And Ed Skrein plays this sort of like the main villain. I thought he was really good. I thought he was definitely evil here. I felt it. So much so that when characters were reacting to him in a certain way, I was like, "Can you not tell that this dude is like 2 seconds away from like decapitating somebody?" Because I feel it in my bones. I feel like this dude is not leaving this planet without killing somebody. Like he's one of those super obvious villains where you're like, "This is you can't save him. There's nothing good inside of him." I know we tried to bring Adam Driver back in Star Wars. Tried to get him back. I don't think he can be saved. I don't think there's a character in there that has a soul. Um, and he's trying to get the harvest, and they're like, but we don't make that much here. The soil is dry, and we barely have enough for us. And he's basically like, I don't give a shit. Uh, so then these people have to do it, and then there's like backstory. There's a robot. It's voiced by Anthony Hopkins, who we find out that the robots used to be all badass, but then they all just stopped fighting when the king died, which is very weird. So then we have to like learn the story of the robots from Anthony Hopkins, and of the king, and how there was a princess, and that's sort of like a little bit expository, but it helps you world build, and it just keeps kind of get world building out of there. It's a lot. It's a film that if you really love it, you'll probably end up watching it a second time. Like if you really picked up, to be totally honest, I don't think Zack Snyder fans are gonna watch this one time and then just call it a day and be like, yeah, I totally picked up on everything in the first film. I don't think you can pick up on everything. I got to give props to Zack Snyder for swinging, for a broad swing here because world building is hard. Um, in this day and age, we still want to see franchises, and while this obviously the, the knock against it is it's gonna feel very Star Warsy. It is gonna feel very Star Warsy because it was originally supposed to be in the Star Wars universe. So while Zack Snyder probably made some changes, he's not gonna want to fully you know, take everything out of his baby either. So it's gonna feel very Star Warsy. Just is. So, um, but it does become a lot, and there's, like I said, there's a really deep ensemble, which means there's a lot of cast members, and there's a lot of cast members with weird ass names, which makes it even harder to remember who they are. The whole time I was like, who is that? Like, I can't even tell you what half these people's names are. I don't remember them. I feel like the robot had a really normal name like Jimmy or something like that. And then everybody else was just like, what is your name? Um, I think the main girl is Sam. And but is it? Uh and yeah, it's very Um, it's a very grandiose undertaking by Zack Snyder. Um, Obviously, I know everybody wants to hear about the visual. I'm sorry, I'm a blind film critic, so I'm talking about the script and the acting. I didn't really have a problem with the acting. I could tell which character was Charlie Hunnam. It's that weird thing that happens when we're in space, and like everybody has their accents from the countries that they came from, and you're just like, how do you speak like that? Like, how are we in space? Why are there Scottish people in space? Why are there British people in space? What is going on? Um, yeah, everybody just kind of has the accent that they have. So I don't know what the answer to that question is, but one day some science fiction director will come up with accents we've never heard. It'll be jarring, and people will hate that too. So there isn't really a good answer for it, but it is sort of interesting to always think about, like, how did we get these people into space? Um, the acting, I don't know. I didn't have a problem with it. There's nothing to write home about. I mean, it's not a film that's trying to win Oscars for that. I don't even think when he originally conceived this film, he conceived it in a way like James Cameron with Avatar was trying to get. Even Avatar, it doesn't get acting nominations. Dune doesn't get acting nominations. These films just, they wouldn't get, even if he directed it perfectly to where critics were actually enjoying this film, um, it still been getting acting nominations. So it's random when a film like this does. Every once in a while, you get like a Charlize Theron and Mad Max Fury Road that just demands your attention. But I don't know. I didn't pick up on that here. Sofia Boutella is very good, but not necessarily to the point where I would want to give her an award. Uh, I didn't hate this. I think critics are being a little hard. It has like a 33 Metacritic score, um, and sort of like a divisive 5 point something on IMDb. Because it's a Zack Snyder film, so there are going to be people who are tanking it and people who are giving it tens. It's going to kind of pull either way. So your IMDb score is going to be skewed no matter what. Um, I don't know what to say. It's not that bad, but it wasn't great. Um, Probably, if I'm gonna give part two an honest to God chance, I'm gonna have to rewatch this before part two comes out. Just to say, there's no way. The biggest comp that I could think of recently where I saw somebody other than Avatar try to world build, because even Avatar, I mean, there's all those jokes about Ferngully and Pocahontas with that Tree of Life bullshit that James Cameron has in there. It's like, how original are you? Um, the only thing that I could really come up with is Valerian. That was where my mind went, was Luc Besson's Valerian and the whatever cities of, I don't know. I just call it Valerian. I know it has like a subtitle, just like Rebel Moon has a subtitle. I'm just gonna call it Rebel Moon Part One, Rebel Moon Part Two. I'm Child of Fire. I don't give a shit. Uh, Rebel Moon Part One and Rebel Moon Part Two should be enough. Um, but yes, Valerian is what I came up with, and I really love Valerian. I was one of the only people that really loved Valerian, but I did. It was towards the end of my eyesight, and I actually did get to see Valerian. So it's even harder for me to compare Valerian to this, because I'm trying to think of a film that did this much world building on its own, without as sort of an original concept, or as close to an original concept. Dune is hard to say because it's Dune, and like so many people knew Dune. Dune was playing to the fans who read the books and saw the first movie, the original movie from back in the day, the David Lynch movie. So even though I saw Dune as a blind person and not visually, um, it's really hard to compare that sort of world building. Um, yeah, it's tough. The audio description here has a really hard time, and like I said, I didn't completely get the whole thing. I will admit that it has it's a bold, big, bold, bright uh, fireball of everything that Zack Snyder. He's got a lot of ideas, and he's gonna burst them out there. It's over 2 hours. Make sure you allow some time. Um, and I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't hate it. You know what I did love? I love that he cast Ray Fisher because that dude got blacklisted. He came out and said some things about Warner Brothers, and then nobody wanted to cast him. And if you look at his resume, honestly, his casting is almost non-existent. Um, yeah, since he actually spoke out. So, uh, kudos to Zach for bringing Ray Fisher into a project because his career was over. He was going to have to start teaching, like substitute teaching or something. I don't know. Uh, I just, poor guy was once promised his own film and then racism, and now he's a supporting cast member in Rebel Moon. So, um, anyway, check it, don't check it. If you don't like Zack Snyder, then don't watch his films. If you do like Zack Snyder, then you probably love this film. Um, the audio description is so hard for me to grade because I can't say I actually understood this film completely. But I don't know that that's entirely the fault of the audio description. It really begs me needing to rewatch this film, which I'm telling you I will do. I don't want to watch this film 3 times. But I'm telling you I'm going to come back around to this film when part 2 comes out. I don't know when that is. I don't know if it's a next Christmas, if it's in the summer. I don't know how long we're going to have to wait for part 2. But whenever that is, I'm going to rewatch part 1 and we'll see if maybe more of it comes together for me. But right now, I really couldn't explain this film. Um, it's nice and shiny. I didn't hate it. It's a lot of ideas, though. It's a lot of ideas. And I'm kind of battling with that idea. There's a reason why Star Wars does that scroll, and there's a reason everybody loves Star Wars. And I think perhaps a data dump at the beginning of the film might have behooved. There might have been a different way that Zach could have told this story in a way that would have gotten us a little bit more into his world with that than just kind of letting us find out as things happen. So I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to tell this story, but I'm kind of neutral on this. I don't think it's really good or bad. I'm just going to give it an average, which may seem low, but everybody remembers that C is average, so I'm giving Rebel Moon Part 1 a C. Uh, there you go. That's it. We'll see. That grade might go up in a rewatch, but especially when I get to watch part 1 and part 2 back to back, which is what I plan on doing when part 2 comes out. But for right now, I'm lost. I admit so. But I shouldn't have to watch a film multiple times in order to go get a coherent review out to you guys. A lot of people don't watch films more than once. So it's supposed to be a first reaction. And my first reaction is I didn't hate it. Actually, I really liked the first 20 to 30 minutes. I really loved. And then it starts getting a lot. Uh, it just starts getting more and more. And then you're like, go back and slow down, please. Yeah, but I really did. I loved like the first 20 minutes of the film. And I thought he was going in the right direction. I was like, man, Zack Snyder's got this. And then it just kind of takes off. And yeah, he lost me at some point, and I by the end of the film I was like, I don't even know where I am right now. And then he has like a little tag at the end, and I was like, oh, okay, so I remember that, but oh my god, there's so many other things where. So anyway, thanks for subscribing. Please click that subscribe button. I'm trying to break 200 this year. It's my Christmas wish. I'd really like to break 200. I'm like literally I'm at 197 as of this posting. So it's almost January 1st. Please don't let me be this close. Just please subscribe. Anyway, I have a website, macmovieguy.com. You can go to X, Threads, or Instagram at MacMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. And it'll let you know who narrates your favorite films and television series. I know it's not the review you hoped for, but it's the review you got. I want to be able to talk more about the audio description, but honestly, I don't really know even what to say about the film. So I didn't love it or hate it. It's in the middle. I don't know if that's what Zack Snyder fans are hoping for. We'll see. Maybe I'll get firebombed. Um, I'm ready. So I don't hate Zack Snyder. I Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll probably review something else and see you guys on the other side.